All right. Then I would say we can start now. So now all of you very welcome to our this month's episode to What Can I Be with a PhD? As you hopefully all know, this is a very brief format where you can maybe during a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, you can listen to a new presentation of a possible career pathway. I mean, most of you know, okay, you can stay in academia, can go to industry, and there are so many other ways. So we try to shed light on each of them. And this time we have Christoph Schissler with us from the BASF. He is a senior research scientist there, and this is something which most probably is very interesting to most of you, at least according to our survey, which we had several months before, where most of you said this is a very interesting topic for you. Let's say this kind of job profile. And I would say I don't spend too much time with introducing you because you will introduce yourself. So I would say the stage is yours, Christoph, and feel free to start.
Okay, then thank you. Yes, that's right. Actually, it's part of the presentation to introduce myself and give a bigger picture of my career pathway. And later on, I will tell you more what he mentioned with being a research scientist or a senior research scientist. Wait. So you will get to know more about this. So, but first about myself. So who am I? Right now, my position is at BASF SE. The official term would be laboratory team leader, active ingredient research, insecticides chemistry in the segment of agricultural solutions, which is directly attached to the BASF. Yes, current role senior research scientist, and I'm working for BASF since April 1st, 2022. So I'm about to finish the 3 years. I started with a postdoc of about 1 year, and since 2 years, I'm fully employed there. But you will get to know that on the the upcoming slides in general. So what you see here is basically the timeline starting from 2013, where I finished my high school degree in the southern part of Germany. And then I went to the Karlsruhe Institute of Technology, in short KIT, to study chemical biology by the end of 2013. And I finished it with a bachelor thesis in natural product synthesis. And then straight went for the master's, also at KIT, which I finished in metal organic chemistry. And then, and I guess that's then the more relevant part for you guys, because you went through all of these study time, I guess. And that's the PhD, which I also did at KIT together with Stefan Bräse. Again, metal organic chemistry. My topic at that time was porphyrin, a versatile ligand for homo and hetero multimetallic complexes. And yeah, I will start with this. So basically, I really liked that topic because it was a very open field and not too strict by like the goal you have to achieve, but it's rather something, let's say, yeah, you can basically design your work in the way what works and what you like to do. And I think this is quite similar actually to what you also will do later on in the industry. So you will get a project that can be in research, but that can also be in marketing or any other project, and then you will try to support this in the best way. And I think this I could really learn well in my time at my PhD. So in the past, I would say, and this is also like when I look around here, the colleagues, most of them have actually done natural synthesis in their PhD, because it used to be very important that you are very, very skilled in a retrosynthetic point of view. But with the tools of Reaxys, of SciFinder, I think this gets less important because, yeah, these tools are also working great. And yeah, so it's not that, it's still important. So it should never be that you are in research of, for example, crop protection or medicinal chemistry and you're not good at organic chemistry, but it's not the main driver actually. So that's why I think it's more important that you show during your PhD that you are very target oriented. And I mean, you can always say you are a good PhD student, but at least in the application process, you need to accomplish facts basically. And I would say that's why don't underestimate that the papers you write in your PhD, this is basically your currency in the way to then apply later on. And what I also did, also because I enjoyed, but I think that also helped then in the application process, that I had in some 3 apprentices and more than 10 students. So basically I was trying to never work alone. So and with that, you can definitely also show that you are a team player. So then basically this was 2 years of my PhD before I then got the chance to go to ETH Zurich with a completely unrelated project, as we called it that time, an interdoc with Eric Herrera. There I did, basically I did a try to find a replacement of the SF5 group. So, but this was, I mean, I included this in the end, the PhD in general, like in my thesis, but this was not related to it. So I really enjoyed to have a different perspective, and if the possibility arises, I would always say do it, because it not only helps your personal development, but also it can be, and I mean, I cannot really tell you, but this is also what I heard, like when you then talk to the bosses that actually employed you. But if you can show that you are that you went, for example, to ETH Zurich and work with Eric Herrera, this helps you actually in the application process. Obviously, I mean that's how it is. And I don't believe that you will be a way better chemist when you had 6 months of a really hard work there, but it's rather that you show your future employer that you will go the extra mile. And I think this is why I would always encourage people to do something additionally than only doing a PhD in one working group. And so after that, I finished my PhD and had a short follow-up employment where I did, sorry, this is here, where I did natural product synthesis, again, only then to finish basically what I started in my bachelor's to write a publication. So again, I tried to be target-oriented and not stay too long at university after the PhD. And then I directly started with a postdoc at BASF. So I said about a year, it was 10 months and a half before I then got fully employed with a lab team leader position at BASF. But I will like talk more about this in the next slide. So keep it short on this one. Okay, so here on this slide, you see basically my main my transition from academia to industry, and I try to put that down into my key decisions I had to take in between. So I hope that can be helpful for you. So so this is always like where I started. So this was I was a PhD in the end in organic chemistry at KIT in December 2021, and then the question was, should I apply for a postdoc in the USA, or should I directly go into industry? So what I did at that time, I sent around 7 applications to the jobs I really wanted to have. Basically, these were all in research, or at least related to it, in industry. And then I wanted to see if there's something that I could directly take, or if I kind of will do the detour, because I knew actually that I will go in industry via the USA and academia postdoc. So then I got 2 opportunities at BASF. This was the postdoc in research, or it was a lab team leader position, chemical intermediates. And then I had a longer call with my now boss, who's sitting actually right behind me. He then assured me that this postdoc is not like many other postdocs in industry. So I know that some other companies hire people then for a year or 2, and then these people will mainly only work in the lab. They don't get much input in the projects, but BASF is really having a different strategy there. So they basically employ you, and as I will also show in the next slides, and you will be at least half times completely in a project, and they try to, if you are good, then you will be hired afterwards. So it's that you, basically spend some time there, get to know the job and so on, and then you will be and you will get a position afterwards. So then, yes, I was then hired as a postdoc at BASF in active ingredient insecticide research until February 2023. So now the question was, during that, do I want to switch the departments or sub-departments at BASF? So so the good part is, if you have your postdoc, you already have the entrance to the internal market, job market in a company. So I mean, what you see out there is usually then only the jobs that could not be like where there was no one in BASF that wanted this job. So most of the time the jobs get just filled by other people that are already hired at BASF. And the good part is if you are one of these during the postdoc then you can directly like hop in and then say, hey, I started in insecticide chemistry, but actually I want to go into process development. And this is then a shorter way. And that's why also I think the employment likelihood is then above 90% in the last years, from postdoc then to a team leader position. Yes, so then I decided to stay in activity, an active ingredient research and crop protection, and also at insecticide research. So after that, I became, as said, a research scientist. And then the question is, how can I strengthen my profile? I mean, now you are fully employed and you can like be on this position basically forever if you not get fired for any reasons. But how can you then strengthen your profile? So I would always give the advice to master your job. I mean, it's also the same in the PhD. So you can do a lot around, but the very, very most important thing is that you are good at what you're doing. And then if you do that, then I would always try to become an expert of a specific segment. And if I think back at the PhD, I was then kind of taking care of the mass spectrometer, basically. And I tried to learn as much as I can on this. And then people could ask me. And this was something like, I don't know, like something that made me strike out of the mass. And I think this is also important for all kind of jobs. So also for the job now, I think this is very, very important. And yeah, after mastering this, then I mean, I'm here now to present BASF and myself to a broader audience. So this is definitely also something then you could think of what you can do additional. Okay, then as said, since January 2025, I'm a senior research scientist and play an important role in a late phase zero project. So what next? So do I want to remain an expert in research, or do I want to further develop? That could be then to go into marketing, agronomy, patent law, many other things. And yeah, so I'm, it's March 19th, so it's not decided yet, but that's then the next decision you will probably face. Okay, so I talked a lot about that I started with a postdoc and then went over to a lab team lead. So what actually did I do at that time? So when I was a postdoc, you mainly manage a scientific postdoc project that's then really in the labs. As I said, it's kind of divided into 50% lab work, 50% you are basically in this office where I'm sitting now. Yeah, and then you do your own synthesis. This is not the case for the lab team lead. And in that time, you work together with the lab technicians and the same project. So you're not leading them, but you're really simply working in that group, which I also enjoyed actually, to see like how these experienced lab technicians with, I don't know, 40 years in the company, how they do the reactions. And then, yeah, like this other 50% I said was already that I supported a drug discovery project. Yeah, so basically what I'm doing now. Then you already get assigned some CRO chemists. So CRO, not sure if you know that, but this is like companies that are not somewhere in the world, or can also be in Germany, and they do contract synthesis. So you can get this assigned, and then you can scale a bit of your ideas. So it's not that you have to do everything on your own. And I contributed at a subchapter of a book, which is like that main book of modern crop protection. And of course, you get the time to get up to speed in general in crop science. Then as a lab team lead, your main task actually is really to develop new molecular designs. So this you do also here, but then this gets your most important task. You plan and coordinate experiments, and you get the first flavor of leadership. So you are responsible, in my case, I'm responsible for 4 lab technicians. And you, of course, have to take care of health and safety work. And that's then this part of leadership you can, yeah, you start with basically if you start in industry. Then this is what I'm doing like kind of all the time the last days, but this is filing patent applications. And of course, also not your only work in your project, but also you can always give input to design and initiate new projects. All right, so that was about myself, basically. So now I want to give you a bit of a deeper picture of what BASF is about in general. So the BASF has, and if it might be a gateway to a bright career for you, BASF is quite segmented. So it's not only that you say BASF does this, but it's rather broad. So we have basically 6 segments. This is the chemicals. This is like all the upstream processes. This is materials, mainly polymers. This is industrial solutions. Again, a lot of polymer chemists are working in this field. Surface technology, they do coatings, for example. Nutrition and care. For example, we have some huge facilities that produce vitamins or ibuprofen, or even aromatic fragrances. There are some people that do only they're lab team leaders and they develop fragrances, which is also funny, I think, and quite cool. And this is what I will focus today. This is the agricultural solution, because I believe that BASF is mainly seen as a chemical company, but actually this is also quite big, and we have 13,000 employees that work in this field, me included. All right, so what's this about? So how does the development of a crop protection product look like? And this is very similar to MedChem, basically. So you have also divided the process of one compound getting to the market in phases. So you start with the research phase and goes into development, then you do the registration, and later you do the marketing launch. This is basically phase 0, phase 1. This is phase 2, and this is then phase 3 and the time after. For research, you basically synthesize the compounds. You use these synthesized compounds to get them screened in a laboratory or in the greenhouse, in microtetra plates, or even then go a bit bigger to microprods. You give your first assessment on how it looks, how well tolerated are these in an environment. And for this research, you mainly get hired organic chemists, but also biochemists or biologists, or also people that studied medchem or pharmacy. This is all part in this. Then in development, I think also the dominant part is organic chemists, because basically here you try to optimize your route and you try to scale up. But also very important in this part are the technical chemists and also the engineers that then try to optimize basically like how in which batch you want to run the reaction and which steering bar you would use and so on. And then after this, your product needs to be registered. So this part you have mainly the business people that try to push them forward, to talk with the regulatory people in different countries, and also patent lawyers are included to really push through your patent applications and then be allowed actually to sell your products you have developed or you did the research with. And then marketing launch is then right after. But I would say this is definitely an interesting side fact of BASF. It's not that in marketing, for example, there are only people that studied business, but many people in marketing actually started as I started. So it's kind of the regular way that you start somewhere in research where you are very effective because you have done your PhD and you are able to steer a project, and then later on you optimize, like you kind of go the way into the business to have different views, but still having the knowledge about the compounds you're actually selling. And I think this is quite interesting because it's not that you will always stay in research, but you can just decide if you want or not. And yes, there's like a time scale. Usually to develop one candidate, it takes you an average 12.3 years. So this is really the same than in pharma. And if you start with 150,000 substances, you will have, while entering the phase 2, where you really wanted to optimize the structures, you're getting down to 1. And the costs in average are about 300 million, but this can even be way higher. Okay, so on this slide, I wanted to show you how the active ingredient discovery research in chemical crop protection looks like. And you might know this circle already. This is what is mainly used in pharma. So you start with a design. So it depends on now if you already went through the cycle and then have knowledge, and then you can base your design on your knowledge you gained after the testing. But if not, then you can use any kind of assistance. For example, if you have a cryo-EM or an X-ray structure, then mainly the cheminformatics will help you to model your structure. So first you will of course enter your 2D structure, and then you will get a flavor of how it looks like. And then you play around with this in the binding pocket and see like, hey, this is this feature which could help to have this interaction to this amino acid on this northern part of the pocket and so on. And then you kind of start from there. Then this is mainly my job. Like, it's of course also to come up with designs, but then if you like agreed on one design you want to make, then you have to synthesize it, obviously. So this is then the retrosynthetic part. So you look at the structures and you try to find out the best way how you could synthesize it. In the beginning, you need milligrams, really. So it's the first the first microtiter plate-based testings, they need, I don't know, like 10 milligrams or 20 milligrams. So this is really, really less material. And then if you want to have like a better picture, a more detailed picture, you of course need then the multi-gram scale to bring it to the field. We work then with internal laboratories, but also with external partners. So the internal laboratories, they are in a way, like sitting in our building, and this is then basically the team you are very flexible with, and then you can shuffle these resources way easier around than the external partners. But external partners, of course, they need less. You need less time to steer them. And then always important is that you characterize the structures not only on how active they are, but also how the PhysChem parameters look like. So it can be that you have designed the perfect fitting molecule on this stage, but then basically it's not soluble. And so then after you have tested the solubility of this product. And then you're, of course, always in interaction with process development because in the end, it has to be a business case. So if you think about very, very crazy structures, then of course, then these guys will tell you, hey, this is anyways not going to be a product. So you can maybe make it to understand the SAR better, but it's, it will stop basically then before you bring it to the next stage. Yes, so then it goes further to the testing and also to the analyze part. So you bring these molecules then to the biologists or the biochemist. It depends on if you have in vitro or in vivo assays. There we have a high throughput screening for the early targets, and these we do all the time. I mean, if you imagine that we test basically 150,000 compounds, then it has to be to an extended high throughput screening. And with this, then we decide what's actually interesting to us, and these we will then bring to greenhouse testing or to field trials. But it's not only to optimize these parameters in the direction of getting more potency, but it's always the greatest challenge actually to make them selective. And so for that, we already start quite early to look into the regulatory. So we check always how this compound acts on bees, for example. This is a clear case. I mean, the neonics, everybody knows they were kind of not really selective, so that's why they are now banned. But now the future crop protection compounds, they won't be like that. Or also like these water organisms, the so-called Daphnia. They are also, we have a look on this. Exactly. So, and besides that, it's always, I mean, you bring out these chemical compounds in over like millions of hectares in the world. So you also need to see if these will be forever chemicals or if they have some breaking points. So sometimes we will design molecules that are not as stable as they could be and that active as they could be, but they have then a breaking point, and the nature can simply, break them apart where they are not active anymore. And so really, if you look at this, I mean, I was also not aware before I started here, but that leads to a regulatory pressure that is, I don't know, way higher than actually you have for pharma. So it's, I mean, it's obvious if you think about it. I mean, if a person dies, it's of course tragic. But if you make a mistake here and you register the wrong compounds, and this turns out to be the case in 10 years, then you can really harm the whole ecosystem. So that's why we have a huge pressure here, and already look at this in a very, very early stage. I mean, with that, I would say that the cycle is finished, and I'm also in the end of the talk. So thanks for your attention. So feel free to ask questions, and I think we have now half an hour where you could ask me anything.
Thank you very much for this nice overview and your nice presentation about your career path and also the BASF in general. Sorry. Maybe before we stop the recording, there's also one general question which I would like to ask you before handing over to Fabian. Namely, what would be your advice to the younger generation concerning, let's say, for example, the career or whatever? So if you can give one advice.
So, I mean, I might go back to this where I try to depict that it really does not matter so much in which part of like if you do your PhD in natural product synthesis, or if it's like method development, or if it's something completely else. I mean, it's always important to show that you are target oriented, because this is kind of this soft skill you will need all the time. So that will help you be it then later in a marketing position, but it will also help you if you started in a research and you will try to support your project.
Mhm.
So I think this is the biggest differentiator. Yeah. So do whatever you like and be passionate about it, but then always try to bring it to a conclusive end.
All right. Thank you very much.